Hey there, welcome to LSAT Demon Daily. I'm Ben Olson, that's Nathan Fox. We're the founders of LSATdemon.com and our weekly podcast, Thinking LSAT. We have a long email here from a dedicated demon disciple.
Okay. Hi, Demon team. This morning I read an interesting article on the dynamics in a law firm between the managing partner, other partners, which it refers to as project manager, and the worker bees. These are associates that are only expected to execute the legal work. Published in 2022 and intended for young law students, it's written by an SMU law professor that has over 10 years of private practice experience, including working as a big law associate. The reason I wanted to recommend it to you so that you might consider sharing it with the greater demon community is nicely captured by the professor's own words in the conclusion section. So here comes an extended quote from the conclusion section. Ready? Can I just read it? Story time?
Sure.
Okay, so this professor, this is Tom Kimbrough from Southern Methodist University. Again, yeah, this was published in 2022. And I read other pieces of this. I did not read the conclusion, though, so I'm interested in seeing how Professor Kimbrough wraps it up. It says, most of the observations made in this paper regarding law firm dynamics may seem rather obvious to anyone who has spent significant time working in a law firm. Why, then, do law students regularly tell me that they have neither heard nor considered these observations before? Well, it might be that they've never worked in a law firm.
Yeah.
Anyway, the majority of full-time tenure-track law professors at U.S. law schools have limited knowledge, experience, or even interest in the harsh realities that their students will encounter upon graduation. Adjunct law professors, who are usually successful partners in their own law firms, do, of course, possess the requisite knowledge, but they will naturally seek to portray their law firms in the best possible light, and they will thus steer clear of any frank discussion of unpleasant truths that could damage their firm's reputation among the students they teach, the best of whom they might wish to recruit. Law school placement offices are hyper-focused on securing jobs for their students, but they are not as focused on helping students thrive in those jobs once obtained beyond dispensing the sort of bromides and platitudes easily found in the self-improvement section of any bookstore. That's unlikely to change unless the kingpins at U.S. News and World Report decide to integrate measures of graduates' success in law firms into their law school rankings criteria. As a result, law students are left with no one who will advise them about what they really need to know after accepting that shiny new law firm job offer, unless they are fortunate enough to have a close relative or friend on the inside.
That's interesting. So this professor is essentially saying, hey, we need to bring the realities of big law or just law firms generally into the law school experience so that law students are much more aware of what they're getting into if they apply to these law firm jobs. But I would say, don't we need to bring it even earlier? Like, you shouldn't even be going to law school if you have any clue that law practice is going to be this horrible and your plan was to go to a law firm.
Yeah. It's like we could create a, this is a good idea, actually, maybe. We could create a, like the driver's ed, like real simple driver's test that you have to take before you get your license.
Sure. Yeah.
We could create one of those, like just sort of asking basic questions about the bimodal distribution of law firm salaries or lawyer salaries. Questions about, the introduction of this piece cites recent estimates of U.S. attorneys experiencing symptoms of depression. What percentage, Ben, do you think U.S. attorneys there's a range here, but what do you think the range, or what do you think a good number is for an estimate of how many U.S. attorneys, what percentage of U.S. attorneys are experiencing symptoms of depression?
Well, I wish I knew what the percentage was for the population at large, but
Sure, yeah. What's the base rate?
20%? I don't know.
Yeah. So these estimates that are cited in this report are from 28 to 45%.
Whoa.
Mhm.
Depression or just signs of depression?
Yeah. So one of them comes from the Journal of Addiction Medicine, and the other one comes from, so that was like a medical journal report called "The Prevalence of Substance Abuse and Other Mental Health Concerns Among American Attorneys." That was from 2016. The other citation is from American Addiction Centers. The report, or the study, was called "Addiction and Substance Abuse in Lawyers: Stats You Should Know," and that was from 2020.
Wait. Sorry, Nate. Can we go back to the depression thing? Was this actual depression rates or just like symptoms similar to depression? Right? Because
I don't know.
there's a big difference, right? Sometimes
Sure.
if you go to a doctor and you say, "Hey, I'm depressed," they're like, "Well, hold
Sure.
on. We don't think you're depressed. Depressed means you have these episodes for a certain
Yeah.
amount of time." And
Yeah. I have a
eh,
feeling that it's going to be something that rises to one of the,
one level,
DSM,
yeah.
like it's got to check that box, because on a superficial level, 100% of all humans experience symptoms of depression.
Yeah, I
Right? I mean,
guess,
there's no
yeah,
everybody gets a little down sometimes,
yeah,
or everybody has a hard time
yeah.
getting out of bed once in a while, or a
Sure,
hard
sure.
time sleeping, or whatever. So, but I don't think it can mean that. These seem to be academic papers.
It's just wild because if that's actually the case, I mean, half your workforce is depressed. That's bad.
That is bad, but we hear it all the time. I mean, like,
Yeah.
lawyers are unhappy. That's not
Yeah.
a surprise,
Yeah.
but it is a fact. Anyway, what else are you taking away from this article, if anything?
It's basically reinforcing the idea that there are, you know, motivations or financial incentives for law schools and their professors not to help students understand what they're getting into.
Yeah. The piece itself was not about depression. The piece itself was about, okay, here's what it's like inside these firms. And it
Hmm.
talks about the players. Again, you got the managing partner, you've got a lower level partner who's called the project manager, and then you've
Hmm.
got the worker bee, which is just
Yeah.
like the wide bottom of the pyramid. you know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
all those first year, second year associates, those are the worker bees.
Yeah.
And it goes, I mean, it develops at length in various firm sizes, various firm configurations. It develops like, okay, here's how you might be able to promote yourself.
Hmm.
And it's some pretty scary shit. It's like, it's fairly like Machiavellian, where
Mm.
you've got to be doing, according to this, this is a law professor who worked in law firms,
Mm.
but according to this, you've got to be like doing secretive shit in order to try to move yourself up that pyramid.
You got to be savvy. You got to be playing a game that others in the firm are not aware of or playing.
Specifically, you have to be bringing in business
Hmm.
somehow,
Hmm.
but you have to do it without stepping on the toes of all of the many people who are above you.
Yeah.
So you've either got to bring in business and just give it straight to them
Mm.
and take no credit for it.
Hmm.
Or, because the thing they're worried about, if you can bring in new business, and by the way, if you can't bring in new business, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you can bring in new business, you also have to do it like on the sly, because they will start to see you as a threat the second it looks like you can bring in business. The second you look like you
Wait,
can
wait.
bring it
I'm
in,
trying to understand that though, because they want that, but they don't want it. How is it a threat and a benefit? Because I
it's a
see
threat
that.
because you could leave. The second they see that you have like a special relationship with client like people, then they start to be worried that you're going to step out of the
Isn't that
firm,
leverage?
because sure, it is for the people who are willing to like actually use it that way.
Yeah.
Anyway, I didn't get that far into it. I
Sure.
mostly I saw the promise of what was going to be delivered, but the piece itself is a quite lengthy law review article that yeah, I think it should be interesting for anybody who wants to get into law firms.
Yeah. Like if this bores you, then maybe this isn't the path, right?
Yeah. Well, and it bored me, and I know that it's not the path, right?
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
me, it's like, well, look, I am never in any universe going to be working in a law firm. So
Yeah.
it's fine, because I know that there's other reasons why I don't want to do this shit.
Mm.
But if you think you do want to do this shit, then yeah, this should be required reading, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Even if you read it all and you go, yeah, no, that's bullshit. My dad works in a firm. I know it's not like that. Or I've worked in a firm and I know it's not like that. Or it is like that, but I'm going to be successful.
Yeah.
That's fine too. But it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I think you probably should consider this. If you're
Mhm.
going to consider working in the law firm
Yeah.
for your life, I
Yeah.
think you can take an hour and a half out of your life to read this law review article. We'll link to it in the show notes. It's called Law Firm Dynamics. Don't hate the player, hate the game. To which I say, why not both?
Great.
Thanks for writing in, dedicated demon disciple. If you would like to be LSAT famous, you can email daily@lsatdemon.com to ask us a question or share some LSAT or law school admissions news. Thanks for listening.